Brazil excites one's soul, its beauty dazzling the beholder. The intensity of light and brilliance of color stirs the imagination. Brazil is known for its rich vegetation, vast landscape, and its stunningly beautiful mixed-race population. The beauty of its people is, well, simply breathtaking. Brazil is a country of stunning beauty manifested by its amazing beaches in the state of Bahia, the sprawling waterfalls in Foz do Iguaçu, the Amazon, Christ the Redeemer with open arms atop Corcovado Mountain overlooking Rio de Janeiro, is perhaps Brazil's greatest landmark. It is a country of wonderful contradictions, the world's fifth largest nation in physical size, exceeded only by Russia, China, the United States, and Canada. It remains South America's only Portuguese-speaking nation, is the world's largest Catholic country, and is home to the world's sixth largest population. Brazil's news media includes highly professional newspapers, magazines, and the powerful television network Rede Globo de Televisão, home of South America's most aggressive journalists. In recent years, they have investigated banking scandals, environmental abuses, the massacres of Amazon Indians, governmental corruption, and the increasingly aggressive murders of local street children, commonly known as street urchins, who are regarded by wealthy merchants as public nuisances who need to be swept off Rio's streets. The media also exposed the infamous esquadros de morte, also known as death squads. They are typically made up of off-duty or retired local police officers who routinely target children in the various favelas around the country, mostly Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. Rio enjoys an enormous tourist trade and boasts of celebrity shopping districts, who some believe rival Beverly Hills' famous Rodeo Drive. To both protect the district and its profits, enterprising proprietors turn to extreme and inhumane means of sweeping the district. The result is the literal extermination of any street children who dare to sleep in front of their magnificent, famously branded shops. Shopkeepers have been known to hire off-duty local cops or former military-trained personnel to exterminate these unnamed and unwanted children. It is no surprise that this targeting simply generates more crimes of survival. A classic catch-22 situation. On a hot and stifling day in March 1997, innocent residents in the working-class sections of Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro were summarily shot, savagely beaten, and robbed by Brazil's uniformed military police, shocking the nation and causing profound soul-searching from within the nation's people and its government. This event in South America's most successful country was not surprising to many. In a nation of 170 million people, 35 million adults and 21 million children live below the poverty line and somehow survive on less than $1 per day. Brazil is a country which has lost its youth to drugs, violence, and increasingly organized criminal enterprise. The escalating violence testifies to Brazil's struggle as the country seeks to cope with the thousands of children wandering its streets. By far the largest and most populous country in South America, Brazil underwent more than half a century of military government until 1985, when the military regime peacefully conceded power to civilian rulers. Brazil continues to pursue industrial and agricultural growth and development of its interior, exploiting vast natural resources and a large labor pool. It is today South America's fastest-growing economy. Brazil is an economically powerful country and enjoys the 7th largest economy by nominal GDP and is the 8th largest by purchasing power worldwide, yet has the world's 2nd worst income distribution. A controlling 10% of the population receives almost 50% of its income, while the poorest 10% receive less than 1% of this rich nation's income. This has resulted over the past 100 years in the birth of the notorious favelas in Brazil's most affluent urban communities. Facts: 40 bodies of persons described as unidentified is not alarmist. 40 children are buried each day in Rio de Janeiro. Although a lowball statistic, roughly 2 children are assassinated daily in Rio alone. These are victims of police and paramilitary hit squads. As one official admitted, every day street children are being murdered by the police. Every day I hear a different story, a true story, something which actually happened. We are killing more children than anyone can imagine. One year in one small city, 3,000 unidentified bodies were brought to the morgue. Most were between ages 12 and 16. One case study concluded that a child's chance of dying in Brazil is 8 to 9 times greater than in the Middle East. Life expectancy on the streets is 2 to 4 years. According to the government officials and aggressive media reporting, the extermination of street children continues unabated in the city of Rio de Janeiro and, frankly, throughout the land. The lesson learned from a few of Brazil's anti-administration politicians is that the arbitrary killings must be kept from public view.
We have kids here at Hope who have death warrants on them. A father stole money from a drug lord. A mother didn't turn the money into her pimp. They don't just come in and kill the offender. They put out a death warrant on the entire family. We have kids whose pictures we cannot allow to appear on film, in any of our presentations, on any of our publications, on our website, because they're essentially being hidden out from people that would like to kill them.
Much of the problem traces to the speed of the country's transition from rural to urban society, which quickly exhausted housing and public services such as water supply, sanitary facilities, healthcare, and education. Unable to cover even basic family needs, parents in shantytowns or favelas began sending their children into the streets to earn money. Others escaped abusive homes.
We are told that 500,000 pre-adolescent girls are forced into prostitution every year. They may be pushed into that by a stepfather. It may happen as a result of a gang in the favela, or it may just be that the culture of the favela is such that the girl herself turns to that. And when you stop and you think about those kind of numbers, that is essentially one child every minute is becoming a prostitute.
This is where the story of Philip Smith and Hope Unlimited begins.
If we see a girl that's 12 years old, we assume that she's been pushed into prostitution. That's just the way the numbers are. We see them all the time. Virtually every child that we have here at Hope is a child that came out of some form of exploitation or abuse. One of the hidden problems that's not talked about a lot in Brazil is a problem of incest. We hear story after story, and usually it's a stepfather. One of the favelas where we work, there's about somewhere around 70–80% of the folks in there are single family homes. And there's a stepfather or a boyfriend that is in and out of the home, and over again, that person is abusing the little girls. We went to a home about a year ago, and we're talking to the mother. She'd asked to see us, and we were sat down and we talked to her. She had a daughter that was 13, and she said, every day my boyfriend is raping my little girl. Happens every single night. And we asked her what she was going to do about it. She says, I can't do anything about it. If I go to the authorities, he'll kill me and he'll kill the little girl too, and then he'll disappear. And so she asked us to go to the authorities and to talk to them and see what we could do. So our social workers reported her to the folks that were in charge, and their question to the social workers were, are you sure she's not 14? No, she's 13. Well, what's the issue with being 14? If she's 14, it's no longer a crime. It's considered, even when it's forcible, if they're in the same home, it's still considered consensual once the child turns 14. The social worker's answer was, well, we'll just wait 3 months and then it won't be our problem anymore.
Philip came to Brazil because he wanted to carry on the work that his dad had begun actually in Ethiopia. And he had seen the way that impacted lives, and he had seen where so many of those kids had gone and how they'd gone on to do great things. And he wanted the same kind of thing to happen for the kids in Brazil. And he came here without any money to start the program, without the hope of an orphanage. And in less than 2 decades, we have 3 primary campuses. We have graduate homes. We have a program that works, and we have thousands of kids that have gone through this program. And so many of them, they look at Philip and they recognize that their lives are changed because of his commitment to them. I've never known anyone who could see a problem and see a solution and then discern that path. He understands where they are and where they need to be, but more importantly, he understands the path from one to the other.
The Brazilian Youth Authority began sending children to the City of Youth. Its criteria stipulating youngsters who are on the streets, have no viable homes or guardians, and are in imminent peril. Boys 12 to 15 and girls 8 to 18 are accepted into the City of Youth. And because girls are favorite targets of prostitution rings, they are accepted at earlier ages than the boys.
The thing that gives me the most joy and the most fulfillment in life is transformation. Seeing a child transform, seeing a person transform, seeing a person that had bad habits, that was unhappy, that was in a bad situation, to see them come to a place where they can feel fulfilled, where their self-esteem is raised up. And that's what gives me the most joy. Put in simpler terms is to see a smile on somebody's face. Whether, as my wife knows, it's cracking a joke to the toll booth operator and making him smile, or to investing my time and my energy and my resources to try to put the smile on the face of a child who's living in desperate poverty in a slum. Putting a smile on their face, but not that hollow smile, but putting a smile that you really know, and light in their eyes that you really know comes from their hearts being raised up, and their hearts being buoyant.
Because of the extreme challenges and disappointments involved in working with girls, very few programs exist for them. Most of the children who now live at the City of Youth had found the streets with hardship and death preferable to what they experience in their own homes.
There's a system here that is absolutely broken, and we can't take care of all the kids, but there are some kids that we can really have an impact in their lives.
Hope's vision for Brazil was launched in 1991, when gunmen largely hired by local business leaders were systematically killing thousands of vulnerable street children. Their purpose for these killings was to eradicate a public nuisance. In other words, Brazil's street children.
Well, I know you're going to laugh, but I'm going to start with the joy. I think the best moment in my life at this point was seeing 2 of our kids graduate from college. That was incredible for us, to think that these kids that we were hoping that they'd get an 8th grade education, and to see them this year graduate from college, one of them straight A's, robotic engineering, and both firm in the church, loving the Lord. That was an amazing moment for us. And they're both doing, and there's a long line behind them. When Diana, our first graduate, graduated from the program and she went back, the girls said to her, "What's it like? Are you hungry? Are you eating?" I mean, they just had no vision for what the possibility would be. And I think that even though this first generation that is now graduating and making their mark, they had it the hardest, but now the other kids are going to have examples of what the possibilities for them are, and that's really exciting.
When I've seen so much in a short time, live and breathe on these streets. Like a lost child, watch the world pass us by as we play in the dirt, building castles in our minds, 'cause we got no place to go. If you close your eyes, we'll try to rise above the noise. If only for a second today, we could walk where the streets were paved with gold. Oh. In the city of hope, where the light shine bright, we roam these streets and pray for the time someone will hear these tears that we cry, in the arms of the Redeemer, grant us salvation tonight in the city, city of hope. Ooh, 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 ooh. These barricades we call home tell no lies, every day may be our last. Under barbed wire skies, live on faith, hope, and the dreams of change. Cries alive where the bullets fly through the tin shack alleyways. Saw a picture on a wall of a brother standing tall, crying never surrender. And though my hope disappears, unlike these skies and these fears, I pray we'll make it out of here alive. Ooh. City of hope, where the light shine bright.